But what I wanted to share is I've known Carrie for a number of years, and she's been a member here for a number of years. We don't always get to see her face. When we do, it's always really great. But I got to know her a bit during her Sherry Shine interview. And I was like amazed at who this person was in terms of her intelligence, her ability. She said it a little bit earlier today where she said she loves to solve problems. And I think most of us would realize that real estate is somewhat, can be problem solving, right? But she, this woman has a degree from Georgia Tech. She's an engineer who then just realized that there was something more that she wanted to do inside of that. She's a mom, has got 2 kids, the tweens. It's fun to watch them grow up online. And has really created a really successful team within Keller Williams with her Bright Homes Atlanta. And so I'm happy to introduce you to Carrie Qualters, where we can learn the bright side of real estate.
Okay. I'm going to try to project. Is that okay with you guys, or do you want me to use the mic?
We're good.
I'm good right now?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
We can hear back here. We can
Oh,
hear.
you can? All right. If we need it, I mean, because it's there and some people just know.
I can use it.
Just try to, try without it and see.
Gives you something to do with your hands too.
Is that better? Better. Do you prefer a mic or no mic?
Yes, please.
Yes, please, Mike.
Well, there's noise coming through here.
I'm happy
so-
to use it. It's okay.
Yeah, please use it.
I don't mind. It makes me look a little fancier too.
It really does.
All right, I'm so excited to come talk to you guys today about real estate. I've been in the business for 15 years now, so I've seen a lot of ups and downs and crazy and slow and all of the things. So what I want to give you guys today is a little bit of perspective. I want to squelch some myths. We're going to find out whether or not we're in a housing bubble. Has everybody been reading headlines? We're in a bubble, it's about to burst. Oh my God, run. Yeah, right? And then we're going to talk about some of the challenges that consumers are actually having in the market today, and how my team and some other teams and realtors in our business are leveraging technology and other services and financial institutions to try to solve those problems for our clients. So if you hear out in the world, real estate is so hard right now, whether from realtors or if you've got somebody who's searching for a house and having trouble, or selling a house and having trouble, we've got solutions. So bring these ideas back to your peeps and let's have them not hate real estate, because real estate is supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be the American dream. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the infamous bubble. Who thinks we're in a housing bubble? Don't know. That's why I'm here, right? So I'm going to tell you 6 reasons we are absolutely not in a housing bubble right now. So back in 2006, 7, 8, banks, not Susan, but other banks, were giving away money very stupidly. You did not have to have any verification of your employment. We were putting, not only putting no money down, they were giving you some cash back to go buy furniture at closing. There was all kinds of crazy stuff going on. People were uneducated, they were getting loans that were dangerous, and they didn't understand what they were, and then they got stuck. So, and once all these people who didn't understand what they were signing up for got into some sort of situation like a job change or like anything else, now they're underwater, right? And this is when we started getting foreclosures. This is when we started having banks selling off tons of, and our prices went down. And so that's what happened then. Look at today versus then. So we are requiring that our buyers have much higher credit scores. They're more financially educated. They know what they're getting into. And y'all, they're putting down payments down. Most people are like, let's put 20% down. 2008 scared me. I don't want to be there again. So as a society, I think we've gotten a lot smarter about borrowing money, and we're not seeing people overextend themselves like they did back then.
I'm sorry, can you go explain? So you're requiring with lower optimal FICO scores, 74 billion is it, and versus
No, greater than
376
620.
billion?
How much?
What is that?
So $376 billion was loaned to people with less than 670 credit
Oh,
scores.
so now it's much tighter.
Now
Okay.
it's much tighter.
Okay, so
It's
the
it's a
subprime
lot
market.
harder to get a loan.
Okay.
It looks like my words are white when they were black before, so that's, you know, the least of our problems. We're not using our houses like ATMs anymore. Do you guys remember back from 2000 to 2008? Everybody was taking money out of their house because they had so much equity to get a pool, go on vacation, pay off debt, all kinds of crazy things, right? Well, lenders would allow them to borrow against the equity in their home so much that, again, they're underwater. So now we have buyers who are being a lot smarter about the market. They're not doing things, they're putting themselves in underwater positions because they or their parents or their neighbor or their coworker lost their house. And they remember that and they're not doing it again, right? Unemployment is good compared to 2006, 7, 8 when we got ourselves into trouble.
It's great.
So yeah, and unemployment is great, Susan says. So you can see as we've gone through year over year, the unemployment numbers, yeah, we had a little trouble in 2020. We remember that. But look, we're right back to only 4.8%, which is amazing unemployment numbers. So people have jobs. People who want to buy houses have the opportunity to have jobs. This is unemployment just over the last months. So you can see how we did when we locked down, and we have really settled since then. So we've gotten back to a pretty normal pre-pandemic employment situation. And that's just another graph that shows that, so I'm not gonna focus. Distressed sales are super low. I have buyers call me all the time that says, hey, can you find me a foreclosure? No, I can't. I just can't. You can see we have only 0.3% of home sales in 2021 were distressed. Everything else was a regular retail sale. And so that really changes the dynamics of the market when we don't have sellers who are distressed. So what about forbearance? Remember when everything locked down and mortgage companies said that you could go into forbearance and not pay your loan if you were in a situation because of the pandemic? So it sounded on the news like everybody was doing it. All these loans, nobody's paying, right? Well, when it first started, only 8.5% of people signed up for forbearance. And most people have caught themselves back up. We're down to only 3.5% now. So even if all of that inventory hit the market, I will never cheer for foreclosures because those are families, but we need those houses for sale. So it would not be the worst thing except for those families. Equity is high. American homeowners have gained more than 50% in home equity in the last 12 months.
Say what percent?
50. 50. Yep. And that's after multiple years of equity gain on top of that. So this year has been on fire. And inventory is very low. So I read an article recently that even if we doubled our inventory and halved our traffic of buyers, we would still be in a seller's market. So we have a long way to go to any kind of crash or shift or bubble popping or whatever kind of terminology you want to use. So the fifth reason we're not in a bubble is simple supply and demand. We just mentioned inventory a second ago. There are 14 years, you can see from like here to here, where builders were building way less homes than standard, and our population continues to grow. Babies are being made, millennials are getting there. So we have, the black line is your average annual units built by a builder. And so you can see we've just got a lot of time of homes not coming online that we are behind. So that is the biggest reason for our inventory crunch. And it may seem like the house down the street sold for a crazy, crazy, crazy price. And you may think, oh my God, these prices, they're just straight up out of control. But actually, when you look at the yellow 4% annual appreciation trend line, which is how much houses have been average appreciating since World War II, you can tell that we are basically right on line. So we've had when you have short dips and rises, it feels fast, but we're really just catching up. And real estate is a 4% a year annual increase over time. And it's just like the stock market. If you had to buy a house right here and you lost your job and you have to sell it here and you haven't planned to be able to rent it or stay in it or do something with it, then you're kind of in trouble. So what we advise our buyers to do is think about the possibility. Let's buy something that you might be able to rent if your life situation changes. Let's buy something that we know is in a great area so that even if the market falters a little bit, you're not going to be in a really bad situation. Okay, so let's talk about the real challenges, not the bubble. I wanted to dispel that myth real quick today. These are the real challenges that consumers are having in today's real estate world. We've got really low inventory. It is hard to nail down a house. There are multiple offers on almost every house that comes on the market these days. And you've got to be strategic to win that house. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Everything has multiple offers. It's part of the same thing. So there's strategies to that. And even, Dawn, you kind of stole my thunder. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay, darling. Even though there are multiple offers, you still have to position yourself as a seller. Because good houses sell quickly. Challenging houses are still taking a while or not selling at all. We're still seeing about 20% of homes that don't sell at all. So you think, that's kind of weird, right?
Well, they must need a lot of work.
They either need a lot of work, they're on terrible
location.
something, they haven't, it's all about pricing. You can price that needs a lot of work house and somebody will buy it. But they're trying to get too high a price for the product, right? So it is still important to put your best face forward. Just having walked into hundreds of houses with buyers, I can tell you that if it's got the white kitchen and the subway tile and the hardwood floors, they're gonna go, and they're gonna get real excited and they're gonna put in a bid, even though there's 20 on the table already, okay? If it's kind of, it needs a lot of work, gosh, we'd have to spend $20,000 to paint and put in new floors, they're less excited and you're gonna get less offers and it's not gonna escalate as much. Interestingly, we talk about corporate buyers in this market. Zillow quit buying houses. They decided that it was no longer profitable for them. We're going to talk about that in a second. And then inflation and interest rates. So how many people know interest rates went up like a whole percentage point in the last few weeks, right? It's a lot. We're going to see some graphs here in a second. And then what does inflation do to the housing market? First, we'll talk about inventory. I know this graph looks like a lot, and it kind of gives you a headache. Each gray and red pair is a year. Each gray line is how many houses were for sale. Each red line is how many houses sold that year, okay? So what I think is interesting is year over year, you see that summer, we all know more houses sold in the summer, right? Year over year, about the same number of houses sell. Isn't that kind of cool? Like, people have to move because they get divorced, they get married, they die, they have parents that they need to take care of, they have a baby. People move not because they're trying to make a ton of money on their house, right? So there's a lot of people that need to move every year. So I think that's one interesting thing. Our population is growing, so it kind of goes up this way. But look at here, we're selling more houses than we're putting on. That's what's feeling really tight right now. But there's plenty of houses selling. You just got to find the right one and get it and fight for it. The black line represents how much inventory we have. And the green line is the change from buyer's market to seller's market. So you can see we've been in a clear seller's market since the beginning of 2012. We've been enjoying nice big profits on our houses and lots of equity for quite a while now. So what do we do for our buyers, right? Because they're out there trying to compete. In order to compete, people are waiving their appraisals. People are waiving their inspection. People are waiving their financing contingency. They're putting extra cash down. They're giving lumps of cash to the seller outside of the deal just to persuade them to take their contract. They're begging, they're crying, they're offering cruises to Florida, right? So it's a fight, right? Here's who this hurts. It hurts our first time buyers, and it hurts people that don't have a lot of cash to put down in a house. And so we have partnered, well, I'll get to that in the next slide. Let me tell you a few other tricks. We're going out and finding houses that aren't on the market.
You're at 15.
Thank you. Perfect. We're right on track then. I did a little research the fourth quarter of the end of last year. In Roswell, 682 homes sold in the tax records, like deed recorded, sold. Only 444 of those went through the multiple listing service. So if you're getting on Zillow and you're thinking that there's nothing to buy, or I don't know where I'll go if my house sells so fast, have you heard that, right? Well, yeah, because what is that? 3/4,
Yeah.
right, are in the MLS. There's a whole inventory out there that's passing hands. That's because of me and Chris talking and saying, oh, I got this person, they don't want to clean. You think your buyer might? You know, there's a lot of off market. Some of this is also corporate sales. So Open Door buys a house, that's an off market closing. But I think the biggest objection I hear to moving for the past couple of years is I don't know where I'd go. Right?
Yes.
So let's say you want to take advantage of your equity and cash out and make a ton of money now, and you're freaking out because you don't know where you want to go. I've never had anybody homeless. Right? Now, you may have to have a pod for a short time. Like, that's the worst case scenario. We're going to find you a house. If we have to go knock on doors, mail letters, those annoying calls you're getting all the time, sorry, some of them are from me. But I'm trying to find my buyers' houses. Okay? So,
That was you.
sorry. I mean, I'm going to do for my client. I don't care if I bother you. But we're going to work it. We're going to network. We're going to try to find it, right? Exactly that. The other thing is we're calling people who tried to sell 5-10 years ago and gave up and haven't relisted yet because they may not be aware of how much their house is worth. And so we're trying to reach out to those people to see if they'd be willing to sell today. We've also partnered with a great company called Ribbon, and I have some flyers over here on the table. And what Ribbon does is they say, we're going to buy that house for you, Mrs. Buyer. You can go ahead and line up financing if you want. If it doesn't close in time, we'll buy it for you. You can move in, you can rent it. They charge you about 2% to do that, which to be able to go, for especially people in this room, that I don't know where I want to go isn't, I think I'll be homeless. It's, my next house is going to be awesome, and I want to be picky about it, right? And so if you want to be picky about it, let's go shopping. Let's find it. It might take us 6 months. I might have to knock on a lot of doors. We might go out twice a month for 6 months till we find it. But when we do, we can make a non-contingent offer and we can win it. Then you can go sell your house, right? Doesn't that sound cool? Yeah. If we're able to close it real quick, which we can probably sell your house really quick, it only costs you 1%. It only costs you 2% if Ribbon has to buy the house first because you haven't sold yours yet. So look into Ribbon, ask me more about it. I can give you lots of details how it works, the exact ins and outs, and I have a flyer over here about it. So the other thing that we have opportunity to do is when we list your house, let's say you don't have the money to go and paint the whole thing, to do the carpet, to do the things that are gonna make it shine, get the multiple offers, get a lot. We've got a contractor that will go in and do that work for you, and you get to pay for it at closing. So that's called our Keller Concierge Program. And they're also available to you as a homeowner who's not moving. So if you want access to that, they actually use your equity out of your home to do renovations for you. So I also have a flyer over here about Keller Concierge. But it's super important to get those fresh pictures. And here's an example of a Keller Concierge house that we did in East Cobb that we have listed for $385. And we did this to it and we got them $400.
And how much money was put into it?
So they put, I want to say it was like $15,000 worth of paint and carpet. but it was sitting at 385.
It wasn't moving.
Wasn't moving. So it was worth it, right? And this was a young lady getting a divorce with kids, didn't have a whole lot of extra money. They also gave her a water heater, fixed a garage door. Like there were a couple like little repairs too that they did. You can see the big difference that they made in the kitchen.
I don't know why she'd give up that green carpet.
I know.
Throughout.
Apparently it's
throughout.
Carpet in the bathroom.
That's been a long time since there's been carpet in the bathroom.
Okay, we've already talked about winning also offers. I'm gonna sit down and miss a couple different things. So corporate buyers, I've heard some fear in the market that businesses, corporations, Wall Street is buying all of the housing, and so nobody can get a house because they're buying it all.
Don't they have to turn around and sell it?
Sometimes, not necessarily, you know.
They rent it lots of times.
A lot of times they rent it. They have a rental portfolio. Sometimes they're flipping it. Sometimes they're just hanging on to them. So we'll see what happens with that. Like eventually they'll have to liquidate that. But most of the time they're renting them because it is super profitable to be a home investor right now because rents are through the roof.
Because there haven't been any new apartments in so long, it seems like.
There's not a lot of apartments being
Well,
built
there's a ton being built incoming.
incoming.
A lot.
Not enough for our growing population apparently, because rents are crazy high and then interest rates are low, which makes housing affordable to purchase. And so if you've ever thought about buying a second home to rent out for a profit, talk to me later. So we have medium companies, one-of investors, giant companies buying houses. I've heard as high as 40% in the news of houses going are to an investor. Zillow tried to be in the business and they end up, my favorite quote, "We've been unable to accurately forecast future home prices at different times in both directions by much more than we modeled as possible. Our estimate is wrong." That's what that means. So they lost their shirts trying to buy houses and put some lipstick on them and put them back on the market. Which really shows me that if you're going to invest, when you buy a primary residence, you gotta have somebody who knows the local market because they were they were buying houses. So Open Door. They were buying all these houses that had flooded basements, trees falling on them, the driveway that goes way down, and less desirable houses in Atlanta because they're based in Arizona. They don't know about that. They don't have basements. So they were like, "Oh, cool, extra space." Like from the inside, I was hearing from their acquisition people. They were like, "Oh." So, yeah, kind of a hard business to be in, remote, right?
And Open Door has lost a dramatic amount of money in a year. The housing prices went up 50%.
So what kind of business model is that?
They're sitting on a fund. It's a big fund of money, but it just makes no sense at all. Like if you are losing your shirt,
They have a lot of angel money, right, to go do this business, and they haven't turned a profit when equity is up 50%.
when that reverses,
Does
it's
that
over.
make sense?
Yeah.
Like as soon as something slows down, it's gonna be a problem. So I went and looked, and here's some Open Door listings as of like last week. To me, the most 24% was the most I could find in Lawrenceville.
So what are they doing? They're buying the homes, but only putting 24%?
No, they own 24% of the inventory
I see.
that's on the market right now.
Which is a lot.
That's a lot, but it's not 40, right? And a lot of the other parts of town are less. So I don't think it's anything to be scared of. They are a player in our market. They're going to be here for a while until it doesn't make sense anymore. And you hear it on the radio all the time: sell to whoever, no showings, no open house.
Mark Spain.
So Mark Spain sells directly to Open Door.
There you go.
He's not special. He's a nice guy, but he's not special. So So his buyer is Open Door. He's basically just repackaging and rebranding that under his name.
I have a house in my neighborhood that is a Mark Spain house, and it's been on the market for about 3 months.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Because Mark's a great, nice, smart guy, but he's hired a bunch of junior people that run the actual day-to-day business. So you don't actually get white glove service or Mark Spain at all. Last I checked, I think he had 250 agents working for him, and he's in 3 states. So Mark's not really part of the day-to-day business anymore. There was something else I was gonna say about Open Door. So yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't want to. When I get calls, I've been getting a zillion calls
Sure.
for buying my house. But you said something really important. It could be somebody like yourself that's calling, and that never would have occurred to me.
Yeah.
Because what I'm thinking, like in my area in Norcross, all they're building is like giant apartment communities. And so I'm thinking, there's probably not a lot of single family homes available,
Right.
you know? So I keep looking.
Yeah, it could be an investor looking to add to their inventory.
Yeah.
Could be somebody that works for your company trying to find houses to buy. Or it could be a realtor looking for their client. There's a lot of different
I'll be
reasons.
nice.
It's always good to be nicer.
You'll know.
Yeah, you will. I ditch most of them anyways.
I would do that to my own subdivision.
So these products traditionally are great for we buy ugly house type clients, right? We've used them for estate. You know, the kids just don't want to fix it up and deal with it, and so we can go get an investor buyer and get rid of that house for them. But they're not going to make as much profit as if they fixed it up and marketed it like a real, on the open market. You're always going to get the most money when you put it on the open market. So, but if you do have anybody that's in that situation where you just can't handle, I've had very private clients. They're like, I cannot handle people in my house. I'm agoraphobic. I'm whatever it is. We do have a cash buyer program, just like Mark Spain does. OfferPad is one of our buyers, but we actually get better offers from some of the local people that are part of that program as well. We actually bid it out. So you'll get multiple investor offers through our program and not just from one company. So if you ever have anybody, I never recommend it. I would rather hold the person's hand and help them through the process and make them $50,000 more if I can talk them into it. But I do have this in my toolbox if it's an option for somebody. So inflation, we all know, is up. This is just straight up economic inflation. But here's what I think is interesting. You can see the price of a car. 2021 is $46,000. 1989, it was $15,000. If you adjust that $15,000 for normal inflation, that would be $35,000 today, which means a car is worth about 30% more, costs about 30% more than it did in 1989, in real dollars. Gas, up 56%. Wages are up 14%. That's pretty good. But real estate, you can see the price of a house is up 59%. You guys feel that? We've been talking about that, right? But a mortgage, the monthly payment on that same house is down 24% since 1989.
Wow.
That's some real estate magic, right? Remember how I told
That's a
you?
bright side.
Remember how I told you Susan's a magician? That's what she does.
My first home was 12% interest.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm about to have that.
And my FICO was great.
Yeah, rates were just that high.
Yeah.
My first house was 9. That
Yes,
was
my first condo, I paid like 10%. I mean,
5% is a great
5%
interest
is
rate.
still very cheap.
That's right. In fact, we still, even now that it's up a little bit, a lot of our clients are putting down the least down payment possible to still get good terms. Because why not take that cash and put it in the stock market? You're going to make more money than you're going to pay on interest on the home. So all of that are things that Susan and I work together to help people financially plan their purchases, right? So if interest rates go up and continue to go up, isn't that going to crush home values? If rates go up to 9% this year. surely people won't be able to afford as much of a house, right? And that's going to have downward pressure on housing prices. So you see rates have gone up a little bit already this year. But historically, no. You can see these time periods where interest rates went up by more than 1% in a short amount of time. Every single time, home prices went up during that same time. So rising rates don't necessarily make the home values go down. It's really more about supply and demand than it is about that interest rate.
Because usually the things that make interest rates go up are the same kinds of things that make mortgages,
people, yeah,
make housing.
that's right. Oops, let me go back. Okay, so I wanted to end with a little story. This is a little house in Smyrna that we sold, and it was the third one we had done in that neighborhood. These people hired us because they had seen our sign and that we had sold houses quickly in the neighborhood. And this was his like little corporate house. They lived in New York and he lived here during the week for work. And we did an open house and we had several families come through, and this one man and his little boy came in and they loved it. And he said, "Oh my gosh, we just love this house so much, and this is just what we've been looking for. And we've lost out on 2 other houses, and God, we just love it so much." His agent came and I met him. We had some friendly conversation. That was great. And we were hanging out in the kitchen, and the mother was a resident. She had just gotten her medical degree. And so she came over just to see it because the husband texted her, like, "I need you to see this. We're going to have to make an offer." I'm calling the agent. Let's get the team together, right? So we're hanging out and talking, and I had a lot in common with this guy, so we really hit it off. Well, here comes the mom walking by. She was walking up the sidewalk, and the little kid's standing there. And he looks at his dad and he goes, "Mommy's home."
Oh.
And it just, we got several offers. I was so grateful this one was the highest. I was gonna make sure this little boy got this house. It was actually tied for the highest. And so I called Susie, the seller, after we had all the offers and presented all the offers to her. Here's the situation. And I told her this story. And so she called me back a couple hours later and she was crying. And I was like, "We got great offers, it's okay." And she's like, "Carrie, I don't tell a lot of people this, but my daughter committed suicide. And knowing that this house would go to a family that loved it and is going to have a lot of memories in it, and these people seem like such nice people," she was like, "we would pick them if it was $10,000 less." She's like, I need them to have this house." And so I tell that story because there's a lot of numbers, I got kind of brainy on you today. But at the end of the day, the energy of a sale and the energy of a purchase and the energy I share with the families that I work with is the most important thing. And it does, I tell you all the time, it always works out the way it's supposed to. And it does. And so I'm grateful to work with families like Susie and Simon who share their hearts and their lives with me. And I'm thankful for the referrals from my friends and family, so I get to meet more people in that. And I'm just so grateful to be in this business. Does anybody have any questions about any of the brainy stuff I said?
I just want to make sure, do y'all have plates for your dessert?
No, left plate but no silverware.
I just want to make sure you're eating it. It's good.
It is great,
Don't worry about that.
but no
No silverware.
I'm teaspoon. They had a little back problem back there today, so first world problem, but we'll see if we can.
Yeah.
They brought it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for you about houses in our neighborhood. Someone, I don't even really know exactly what happened, but it was like he got a real estate license so he could sell his own home.
Yeah.
Right, okay. And so he sold it at a high inflated price that the rest of the homes aren't selling at that price.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So when that happens, does it lift other prices? Is it anomalous? What does it do to the other home prices in the neighborhood when that happens?
In that specific situation, he has done a transaction that's not at arm's length.
Right.
And so an appraiser is not gonna count that as part of the comps, probably, if they know that.
I have no idea.
Um, And appraisers have to use at least 3 comps that are within the neighborhood or 1 mile, whatever their criteria are. So you're gonna have 2 at normal price and 1 at the new. So you'll get something kinda in between.
Right.
However, in this market, if a buyer sees that sale, the next house that goes on the market, they'll be like, well, that one sold for that, I feel comfortable.
Yeah, because we're in the Roswell area and there is a lot
yeah.
of demand. It's crazy. We have people scouring the neighborhood trying to
Totally.
get somebody who's not selling.
Yeah,
to
in
sell,
Roswell,
right?
somebody will pay $20,000 more than that
Yeah.
last sale. Just, yeah.
Interesting.
Honestly, it was really good to hear this, because I mean, you hear so much misinformation. And I mean, it's great to know that a lot of these houses are not going on the market, because I get a call every day.
Yep.
It seems like somebody wanted to buy my house and I really kind of want to sell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have huge, big furniture. I don't want to put it into, storage or
Right.
whatever, or
Yeah.
live in an apartment. But if there's an option, like if I could be like, here's my dream house and you guys
Yeah.
find it,
Let's go buy it
let's
first.
do it.
Yeah, let's go find
I
that
don't
house
think people
first.
realize that they're just not on the market.
Then you know you have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
If I make one of those calls like I'm looking for a buyer and you answer the phone, you're like, yeah, I wanna sell. If you're not my client, I don't necessarily have to tell you that putting it on the open market is gonna make you a lot more money. Now, I'm not gonna deceive you or trick you, but my client's the buyer.
Right.
And so if you are somebody who's not aware of what's going on in the market, I might give you a number that is way more than you thought it would be, but you might make $50,000 more if you put it on the open market, and everybody's gonna be happy. That works for me. Yeah.
I just think the access to having somewhere to go is, I just had tax season, so there were
Yeah.
tons of clients through, and this came up, oh my God, a million times. So many of my clients sold, and they're like, but I have nowhere to go.
So I'm your speed dial, right?
People don't realize that there's transactions happening off the market. We just assume when we don't see any signs.
Yeah.
Because I'm driving around Roswell all the time.
Yeah.
There's no signs. I'm like,
Yeah.
The other thing
what's
is,
going on?
if you go on Zillow today and you see what's on the market,
It's not on the market.
half of it sold last month. A quarter of it is going to be sold by the weekend. So we've gotten into this rhythm of we see what comes out on Thursday, we go see it all on Friday, we write offers on Saturday. Or Friday night. And then we wait till Monday to see who the sellers pick. So a lot of my buyer consultations, I'm telling them, don't fret that just because you check Realtor.com on a random Tuesday morning, there's nothing you want to buy. That's not necessarily an accurate picture of what the market actually has.
If you search Realtor.com, it says pending.
Yeah.
Totally.
There's like nothing.
And then half of the actives are also pending. But the same number of houses are gonna come on the market tomorrow. It's not that the houses aren't, remember that graph I showed you? It's not that there's not enough houses selling. They're just selling so fast that if you're not on it, you miss it. And you think that it wasn't ever there.
The homes in my neighborhood, there's 24 homes, and 5 of them sold last year for above asking price on the first day,
Mm-hmm.
which is just, and it's almost 100% more, 100% more than what, alright, so it's like 85% more than what I bought my house, is open door keeps, bugging me to sell. Just crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
And my husband and I said, well, where would we go?
Yeah, go find it first.
Yeah, go find it first, and before you sell to an institutional investor, talk to an amazing professional, because I see it too, time after time after time after
Oh my
time.
God, you could have made so much more if you had.
Like,
Yeah.
even if you don't want to move your furniture, like there's
Yeah.
options for that, but at least
Oh my gosh,
make
y'all,
it.
sellers are leasing back the house for 2 months until they can get in their new house that they're building. buyers are willing to do just about anything that a seller wants them to do, so we can make it really convenient for sellers right now.
I saw you gave the book, about the investing,
Mhm.
which is something my husband and I are, I'll say tiptoeing towards. And, is that a good book to explore? Obviously I could ask you questions all along
Yeah.
about that, right?
Well, let's
Is
have
that-
coffee.
Is that a good place to start looking at
It's a great
that?
book, it's simple.
What's the name of it again?
The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. I used to do a Millionaire Real Estate Investor seminar. I may have to start those up again.
Yeah, you might wanna.
Yeah.
They want to screenshot it?
I'm gonna go buy it.
So I'd say my biggest tip for investors is to define what your investment house avatar is and don't stray from it. Like my husband and I have several investments. We won't buy a contemporary house. We won't buy on power lines. We won't buy on a yellow line road. We want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath brick ranch.
Does it talk about that in the book?
It doesn't say a 3-bedroom, 2-bath brick ranch.
Well,
But
no,
it
no,
does
no, but it talks about how to decide.
It talks about
what
how to
that
decide
is.
what your avatar is, so that you're not tempted to buy everything that you think is cute. You wanna write out your investment business plan, right, Sherry? We helped Sherry buy 2 investment properties.
Well, I was gonna say, so we bought 2 houses, and I'd say 9 months later, so I start getting these texts, So I put out this outrageous price, which was a 50% increase of what we
In a
paid for
year.
the house. Less than a year, it's like 9 months. And they went, okay, and so I went, okay, I don't know you, I called Carrie, I said, let's list this house and see what we get. And it actually appraised for even more.
Yeah.
So we made a very quick profit in less than a year.
So I have a
But
question.
I have a question too.
This is more for Deborah Daniels. Do you have to pay a capital gain tax if you buy a house and sell it and make a profit on it?
Unless you're smart like Sherry and you do a 1031 exchange.
You do, if
You
you
can avoid
are,
it.
if you are single, you can make $250,000 profit. If you are married, you can make $500,000 profit, as long as you've lived in that house 2 out of the past 5 years as your main residence.
So.
But if not, you
for
can do a
best selling it
1031
right
exchange.
away, it was 2 years, and you didn't live in it, then you're gonna have to pay that.
Right, okay, there's other ways, like an exchange and things like that, too.
Yeah.
Which is what we do.
Yeah, and that's profit, it's not what the house sells for.
Right, profit.
One
So-
more, and then we gotta wrap it up.
Yeah, so my brother and sister-in-law moved away from Atlanta, they moved for business, and they sold they're selling their house, they're selling it themselves in Dallas. And they wanna buy another something here, but they're waiting, cause they think they're waiting for the prices to come down.
Won't.
So, I wanna be able
Cost
to
you
be
more.
a messenger, so
Yeah.
you're saying it's not gonna happen
Not anytime soon.
soon.
We may decelerate a little bit, like we gained, I think, 18% last year. We may slow down a little bit and hopefully eventually get to that 4% every year again.
Right, but not anytime.
That's a deceleration,
Do you
not,
think
we're not
it-
gonna lose value.
So what do you think is it gonna be a year, is it gonna be years before that
All I
happens?
can tell you, so this year I've seen, expert predictions of 6 to 10% this year, which would be a pretty big deceleration from last year.
But that's still growth. She's saying
That's growth.
she thinks 6 to 10% increase in
6
this
to
year.
10%
But not 18%.
gain in
Right.
price.
Right,
When the average has been
so
4%.
by sometime this year, it's gonna come down,
Prices won't come down.
but prices won't come down.
Accelerate, yeah. It's not gonna be 50% more next year. But I think prices are gonna stabilize within a range. And there might be somebody who paid $200,000 over asking that wants to sell it next week and
Right.
it might not work.
Then you have to give the appraisers a little bit of time because they lag behind. So all that.
They're doing a really good job right now because they see it all around
Well,
them.
they passed something, like a month ago that they can count pendings in the appraisal. So that is helping out. So, text me. I'm happy to have coffee with anybody and talk about all your personal, the thing that I'm giving away for free for anybody who wants to take advantage. I will do a wealth walk of your property with you, which means I'll come with today's value of your home, and we'll talk about anything that you might want to do now to make your home more valuable if you were to sell it tomorrow, or if your kids are going to sell it as you are being carried out of the house. Either way, I don't care. I'm just happy to give advice and have some fun with somebody.
A year before we started shopping, we met after a WPDN lunch.
We
were at
did,
a bar,
right
and
here
that's
in the
where
bar.
it started, right here.
Yeah, we did
It
it.
was a good thing.
It It was a good thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Carrie.
What do you think? Good stuff.
Yeah.